Hello, everyone, and welcome to the weekend edition of the Daily Market Report with StatsEdgeTrading. Essentially, what I'm going to do today is we're going to break down crypto, FX, commodities, stocks, figure out what happened in this wild week, what we can maybe expect going into next week. I'm going to share some stocks that I found when I was doing my scanning with Trade Ideas. If you want access to more, a nice blog post where I put all these thoughts together, screenshots, and access to my entire watch list, which I update every day, go to StatsEdgeTrading.com, sign up for the email list there, or just go to Substack and sign up for the Substack. I just send out an email. I don't sell your email. I'm not going to spam you with things. Just a quick way for me to get a hold of you guys and to prepare thoughts a little bit more long form. If you don't have access to Trade Ideas, which is what I do all my scanning and everything from, again, go to StatsEdgeTrading.com. There's a link there for you that helps with the channel. And without further ado, long-term look here. So we're going to zoom out a little bit. We're going to use weekly candles during the midweek report and the market minutes. I use daily candles because I'm just looking for what's happening over the next few days. On the weekend, I think it really makes sense to take a step back, zoom out. This is something I got from my buddy JC and been super excited ever since. So weekly candle on Bitcoin is a doji, surprisingly, right? Doji, slight move, doji, big move, right? Still just chopping. So within a range. I've said it a million times, give me something, Bitcoin, break this level down here, break this level up here, then I'm going to be interested to start playing bigger. I have taken some trades on shorter time frames here or there, more just to kind of keep myself active and keep myself interested in watching it, but really just nothing going on here in crypto. Some names, let me bring up my notepad here so I know everything I want to go over. Into some currencies here, we have pound yen, very interesting. Now, I would be very concerned holding yen, especially anything denoted in yen, especially over weekends. So I'm just not going to do that for a while. There's rumors or whatever that the Bank of Japan is going to start trying to protect its own currency. That's just been killed against all of their currencies for a very long time. Maybe not. Again, anyone who knows that I'm a quantitative, systematic, and technical trader. I am not a news guy, but if anyone doesn't trade currencies, they want to know what I'm talking about, is we had this massive push down. It's actually more prominent if I go to dollar yen, this insane flush, and then it's just kind of been fighting ever since. So I'm going to avoid those things for over the weekend, but the beauty of the way that I trade the FX market is it's open every day, closes on the weekend, and it's open at night. So stop orders work. So I'll trade both sides for that reason, but just want to put that caveat out there. But pound yen pulled back, held this level right here that I'd highlighted from back here, actually held it pretty well, and technically put in a big bottoming tail. So could be in for another bounce off this level. See if we test these highs, 185, 186, that kind of area. Now, some interesting things from both the euro and the pound. The euro, again, we're here on the weekly chart, this anchored VWAP from the major low after we had this massive down move in the euro or massive bounce in the dollar, came all the way in and now is 2 weeks in a row failed to close below this anchored VWAP here. So you can see these two bottoming tails in there on the euro. And also, if you look at the same thing on the pound, you can see the same thing where we have these two bottoming tails right at or near that anchored VWAP. We're stretched. So these kind of tweezer pattern, I guess, technically, which is just two bottoming tails of some security down below. This tweezer pattern on the euro and the pound could mean that we have a little bit of sell-off in the dollar next week. Maybe that is a little bit of a rally for stocks. So I am now in modes for the pound and the euro where I'm actually looking to buy these with certain patterns on lower time frames that it is that I like to trade, right? So now we go in here to USD, CHF, and you can see kind of the opposite thing where we have anchored VWAP from this major top on USD, CHF, which makes sense because it's just an inverse, right? Which tells me that it is the dollar that is making these moves, not the actual underlying currency. So I don't think CHF has, caused this this rally, I think it's all the dollar, because all of these dollar stocks look more or less the same. CHF is a little bit more interesting because it has this very significant zone right here where it's had a problem with in the franc. You can see the lows right here and then the highs right here. So that VWAP lines up with that zone, which again makes it very interesting to me that I'm going to take a look for this on the downside when it comes to next week. And lastly, we have Aussie CAD. Again, Aussie CAD is something that I'm doing more of from Forex, where I didn't really trade this before because it takes oil out of the equation, which I think is really, really interesting. Had this undercut last week. I've been looking to buy this all week and had some good trades on the long side to this one. I'm going to look to continue that next week on Aussie CAD. So now let's pop into trade ideas and let's take a look at individual ETFs, trying to figure out what's going on here in the stock market. And we'll start here with the S&P 500. Now we have the anchored VWAP from this March low just draws in kind of like this. And we've hit that now twice and closed above it. Also, we have these prior highs right here that you can see are now acting as support. So we have a lot of support in this area. 2 weeks in a row now, when we try to get these down moves and they fail, that to me is interesting for a potential move higher on some of these names, right? I believe that when you have these failed moves, as my buddy Brian Shannon always said, from failed moves come fast moves, and that may be what we're experiencing in these ETFs. So I'm watching these for continuations going into next week. Now we have UNG here. UNG is a natural gas ETF, another 2 times volume today. I was talking about yesterday on the shorter term video, and I did a little thing with Sean on Trader TV, where I was saying, hey, we had this breakout in natural gas, and it happened on 2 times normal volume. Today we had a continuation from that, and it happened in 2 times normal volume. These are the daily candles, so we had a continuation move on this increased volume, just like we've had on the day before. So nice breakout here. So I bought some about midday today. I bought a lot of things I'll talk about midday today when we had this red to green move. I think UNG may be it. Again, I'm going to protect the lows here. I think if we get an oversold bounce, there may be a little bit of fun to be had in UNG. IBB, which is our biotech ETF, is very interesting here, where we've undercut this low right here on the weekly chart, but then rallied to close green. And we did that on quite a bit of normal volume. So if we look at this is right, probably normal volume here, had a breakout on volume the same time we had this failed breakout in price. Makes me think, again, looked like there was a lot of doom and gloomers in different industries that may have got sucked in. Biotech is going to be one of those industries going into next week. Another one, and the last ETF I'm going to look at here is GDX. Same type of thing. Doesn't have the increased volume, which is interesting. So this is the gold miners ETF. But you can see even today with 1.88 times normal volume, we have this push under this level right here, but then we've rallied up. So again, it could just be short-term bounces. Maybe we bounce up to fill half of this range and then sell off, but that's fine. These are weekly candles, so when we zoom in, it means we're going to have some interesting intraday action. So let's go back and let's take a look at the S&P 500, and let's do it on a daily chart instead of a weekly chart here. And you can see the craziness from today. Actually, let's do pre-market volume, because I think this pre-market shows. So we had non-farm payrolls come out. I'm not going to talk about those numbers. I don't really study them. And we sold off. And then we started to rally. And when this candle closed above this range right here, I was just getting back from the gym at that time. Most of you know I don't trade the open. I don't care about it. Show me the close. That's more interesting to me as a swing trader. But as soon as I saw this massive reversal where all of the bears in the world were thinking we were going to break down this 420 and that was the end of days, I started buying things pretty aggressively. So most of those things are already in profit. Some of them I've already sold chunks of them. I'm not generally a day trader, but if I get a 1 hour move in a day, I'm definitely going to take it. But just showing there that there may be some of the other side that's caught a little bit offside. may be that short side that's a little bit worried, and then we can look to take advantage of that. Also, just a big engulfing candle here. And engulfing candles are usually very powerful. Basically just means a big candle that engulfs the prior day's action. So for targets, this gap fill could be interesting right here. But it does kind of feel like we may have done a short-term bottom. If not, I don't know if it's a long-term bottom. I don't call these things. But it just feels to me like there was a lot of bearish sentiment there. And then the market just flipped on a dime on them. So I wouldn't be surprised to see an up week next week showing some sort of action. If that changes, of course, I change with it. I come up with these opinions and I change them really, really quickly. The famous saying, I think, from Peter Brandt is strong opinions weakly held. And I love that saying, which is I have these opinions, but if more information comes out over the weekend or into next week, I'll just abandon them and move on with my life. And I think you have to do that as a trader. People who, vehemently defend calls are always going to have way worse of time trading. So some individual names, some trades that I took, some trades that I'm watching. One here I actually took some was CBay. As things were bouncing, it was down to this level. I think I added this yesterday or on Wednesday on the list. Pulling back into this area right here that it broke out of. And then interesting that it did this engulfing as well. Gap down, rallied higher, lower than normal relative volume, which made me not go insanely big on this one. But it's just one of those, if I'm wrong, I'm probably going to stop out under this zone. And if I'm right, maybe we get up here. And that risk reward is just very, very tempting to make the trade. Meta is one that I want to talk about when even if you identify as a swing trader, sometimes you just got to take the money and run. So Meta was one of those that I saw rallying around that time when the market was breaking out, which I think was around this candle right here. And I bought some with a stop under today's low, just as a, hey, if this reversal is real, I like Meta. It's all on my watch list anyway. So I'm going to buy some here. And you can see if this is my risk, that I already covered that risk and some in the end of the day trading. So as we rallied here, I sold a chunk of the position up here. Again, I just want to lock in these gains as they come, leaving half of the position or so on just to run if and when they're going to do that. So a couple names that I'm watching going into next week is AKAM. This one's very interesting, just a nice pullback here on a very strong name. Big gap up, right? Akamai, this is semiconductor stuff. It's just been going crazy. Wondering if we're going to break out here and have a continuation. So, I would watch this one probably for a break over this zone right here. Wrong, probably right down here. That's one name for next week. Next is XPEV, which is a Chinese EV. And I know Rivian's been having some problems. Again, I'm not one to follow news, but I know there's some EV problems out there. Not that I care, but I've heard it somewhere. But just getting really, really tight here on XPEV. This one's from China, so you have to be careful about that. Means things can go crazy. Actually, a short float of 7% is interesting on any Chinese name. Just makes me think that we're getting very tight, and if we break out of this range, we could take a shot at these highs, and I'll be wrong really, really quickly. Again, if you notice, everything that I trade has the potential of making way more money when I'm right than I am when I'm wrong, because I'm not confident, nor should anyone be, that I'm going to be right or wrong very often, right? Or right very often, sorry. Where I understand that no one's right very often. That's why it wasn't working. Alarm.com, because I had mistyped it there. So alarm.com is another one that I'm looking at here for the same type of move. We have this $60 a share, which was very interesting. It was resistance, and through this area, we broke out, we pulled back, and we hit it. And then we've put in this bottoming tail here today. So undercut this low, potentially move higher. So I like the look of this alarm.com to see if we can break through and make another high. Again, I'll be wrong probably if we get a close somewhere in or low of that wick. Okay, everyone, thanks for coming by. About 15 minutes you guys hung out with me. And if you made it this long and you like the content, I appreciate the comments and the likes and retweets and wherever you're finding it from. If you want more content, you want access to my full watch list, go to StatsEdgeTrading.com and get signed up to the email list. Have a good weekend, guys. Get away from the screens.